Abbas Dabo will join me in a moment to bring us that background that we need. But before that, you have so many reasons to watch DSTV now, including FA Cup magic that has been brought back, or the best leagues in Europe like the EPL, La Liga, Italian Serie A, live and in HD from Super Sports, the home of football, wrestling, boxing, car racing and tennis. There's also the intriguing fresh Ghanaian and international content like YOLO Season 2, Heels and Sneakers Season 2, or God Friended Me. And you cannot forget the kids' content on Disney Junior, CBeebies and Nickelodeon. So get connected now. SMS DSTV to 1731 for a fully installed Zappa HD decoder with 1 month complimentary DSTV access for 199 Ghana cedis, or call 0302 740540 or 0244 740540 for more information. Terms and conditions apply. DSTV. Feel every moment. Now, the first in a series of 2019 CIMG evenings begins with the medical sector, where many will contemplate what is there to the market. We'll contemplate as to what is there to market. Now, contrarily, market knows no bounds and authoritatively permeates every human endeavor. That's why we want you to make a date with Dr. Nana Ayew, the CEO of St. John's Hospital, Tantra Hill, Achimota, and Member of Parliament for Ifijase Asokore on Thursday, February 21, 2019 at the Golden Tulip Hotel at 5:30 p.m. The topic is the role of marketing in healthcare management. Come and have an insight into how health practitioners can educate patients, facilitate collaboration, expand brand awareness using both the old and the new media. Please find attached detailed information and the registration form. So contact the CIMG on info@cimgghana.org. Telephone is 020 817 7752 or 0244 585 208, 020 817 7752 or 0244 585 208. Malik Abbas Dabo is with me in studio to bring us the background to the story we're dealing with.
Daniel.
Good morning again, Malik.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. So, Daniel, there are revealing details in the Global Financial Integrity's latest report titled Illicit Financial Flows to and from 148 developing countries 2006 to 2015. This January 2019 report is the latest in a series of reports issued on a roughly annual basis for Global Financial Integrity, GFI. Now, Daniel, it provides country-level estimates of the illicit flows of money into and out of 148 developing and emerging market nations as a result of their trade in goods with advanced economies. And you were making this point as classified by the International Monetary Fund.
Yep.
Such flows, Daniel, are estimated over the years 2006 to 2015. That's a 10-year period. The most recent 10-year period for which comprehensive data is available. In addition to updating the estimated IFF's GFI has presented in the past, this report widens the scope of its research and uses a more detailed database published by the United Nations along with updated measures from the International Monetary Fund data it had previously used. The report presents estimates based on both data sets. One of the striking details is that about 9.3% of Ghana's trade with developed countries constitutes potential stolen money flowing into Ghana. 9.3. Now, 26, whilst 9.3 is flowing in, 26.3% of the trade constitutes potential stolen cash flowing out of Ghana into developed countries. And you captured this succinctly when you spoke about a stranger who comes with 50 Ghana cedis and leaves with 150.
Yep.
In nominal terms, illicit money flowing into Ghana is estimated to be $837 million. $837 million. On the contrary, the report estimates that illicit cash leaving Ghana is at 2.372 billion.
Mm-hmm.
2.372 billion. Mm-hmm. If you work the math, Ghana loses about 3 times what it gains through illicit gains. These monies are allegedly stolen through deliberate trade misinvoicing for the purpose of evading or avoiding VAT taxes, customs duties, income taxes, excise taxes, and other forms of government revenues. Indeed, there are various estimates of the losses Ghana incurs as a result of illicit fund flows. Last month, Mark Ford of AML News Flow cited GRA officials in a report that highlighted that trade-based financial crime at Ghanaian ports was responsible for the country missing its 2018 revenue target, and we know this. Ford's report also said official data indicated GRA's customs division failed to collect the equivalent of more than $400 million, of which 70% is accounted for by alleged trade criminality.
Mm-hmm.
So according to civil society groups in the tax justice fraternity, conservative estimate put the level of illicit financial flows from Ghana at 14.6 billion for the past 10-year period, 2002 to 2011, with annual losses estimated in 2018 averaging $702 million. Imagine what $702 million can do for us, and this is annual. Now, if we expand the scope, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa's High-Level Panel on Illicit Financial Flows has estimated that illicit financial flows from Africa could amount to as much as $50 billion per year. Although the figures on IFS, that's illicit financial flows, are heavily disputed state actors, current analysis agree that illicit financial flows exceed the amount of official development assistance provided to Africa.
Thank you very much, Malik Abbas Dabo. So what Malik did was give us some sort of background upon which we can build our conversation. He's explained to us how the monies are flowing out of the country and the amounts that are involved. Yawensia is here. He's the head of Procure Consult. Ya would help us to drill down into what trade misinvoicing is, because that's one of the main ways that monies are flowing out of the country. We'll also be speaking to Daniel Neal, who is with Global Financial Integrity. He'll be speaking to us from their London office. They put this report together. So he will be explaining to us exactly how they came by this data and the basis for the estimates that they make. Daniel has joined us on the line, and we'll go to him now. Good morning, Daniel. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Daniel. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great. So, in the first place, who is GFI?
Sure. So, Global Financial Integrity is an American nonprofit research, advocacy, and advisory organization. We work essentially to curtail the flow of illicit money out of developing countries, primarily in order to assist governments in their efforts to reach the UN Sustainable Development Goals, particularly in terms of revenue mobilization targets. So we were created in 2006, and since our foundation, our research and analysis has had significant public policy impact across the globe. For example, in 2011, a report on illicit financial flows in Mexico contributed to creating the political momentum to pass anti-money laundering legislation and the creation of anti-corruption body. Also in 2014, a study of ours in the Philippines was publicly endorsed by then President of Philippines, which led to the major effort to reform the customs agency. But probably one of our biggest impacts was in 2015, where we contributed to the inclusion of the term illicit financial flows in the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this is now an explicit target which all countries must abide to and try to eradicate. We've also been credited with a number of firsts in the area of anti-corruption work. So, for example, in 2006, we defined the term illicit financial flows, and this has been popularized among development experts, academics, and the international community as a whole.
Right.
So, for example, our current understanding of this term is that it's money that's essentially illegally earned, used, moved, and crosses an international border. And this definition is currently used by the World Bank, the IMF, the UN, and the OECD they use similar definitions essentially to what we kind of established. And as you already mentioned in the debrief, we've been releasing global figures on IFF since 2008, basically, which is now thought to be roughly in the area of about 1 trillion annually. We've done this every year, and we've updated this data every year with some modifications. And as you already mentioned, our estimates basically indicate that trade misinvoicing is a primary means for illicitly shifting funds in and out of developing countries. And this usually accounted for at least 80% of all measurable IFS. So this is quite important, obviously, because trade misinvoicing essentially involves the deliberate falsification of the value or volume of an international commercial transaction of goods.
Daniel, Daniel, we'll come to the specifics of trade misinvoicing in a moment. But for you putting this report together, what sort of outcome do you want to see, first of all, and why is it necessary in the first place to study country-specific numbers for illicit financial flows?
Yeah, so it's essential to understand the magnitude of the problem at a national level in order to kind of provide the adequate policy recommendations, especially to put into context of kind of national economic indicators. So, some policymakers have told us in the past that there's no point understanding illicit financial flows on a global scale if they can't put it into context of their GDP, their inequality, their trade, or their debt figures. That's why we always try to provide national kind of figures for this.
Okay.
If that makes sense. But it's also quite important to understand IFS at a country level, both in terms of absolutes and relative numbers, as very different pictures might emerge. So, for example, you look at our latest report, and if you look at the countries with the highest dollar value of illicit financial flows, you have countries which are very resource rich, such as South Africa, Nigeria, Mexico, Brazil, and Malaysia. But if you look at illicit outflows as a percentage of their total trade with advanced economies, again, the results are quite different. So you have countries like Sierra Leone, which is about 40% of all of its trade reportedly misinvoiced, Georgia with about 34%, and then other countries like Botswana, Maldives, Ethiopia, and the Bahamas, which have all about 30%. And the figures in our latest report estimate that, on average, the amount of trade misinvoiced in all developing countries with advanced countries is about 18%.
That makes Ghana very high, with us getting about 26.3%. But how did we arrive at these estimates?
Sure. So our estimates are based basically on bilateral trade data using two different macroeconomic sources. So traditionally, we've always used the IMF's Direction of Trade Statistics, which reports disaggregated bilateral trade data on a country-to-country basis. So this measure kind of presents the value of merchandise exports and imports disaggregated according to the country's primary partners. But it's not as robust, for example, or as granular as the second database, which is the first one that we included this year, which is the UN's Comtrade database. And it's widely seen as more detailed reflection of an individual's country global trade activity than the IMF's one. Because Comtrade data provides the ability to determine trade gaps between developed and developing countries based on approximately about 5,000 commodity groups that countries trade on a global scale. The problem is that not all countries submitted their trade figures to this database, including Ghana. That's why we had to use the two data sets. So, for example, as you mentioned, Ghana reportedly loses about 30% of its total trade to trade misinvoicing, but these figures are likely to have some inaccuracy because we weren't able to get that granular data from Comtrade because the government didn't supply it in the first place. But I think it's very important to mention that regardless of the data set that is used, the common thread between this year's study and those published previously is that illicit flows continue to be, a significant and persistent obstacle to sustainable development in most developing countries.
Definitely, Daniel. And before we let you go this morning, this is quite some detailed work you have done. I've been looking through the reports myself, and when it comes to Ghana, how, from the perspective of the one who puts the data together, how should it be interpreted?
Yeah, so there's actually a few ways of interpreting this. So as you mentioned, misinvoicing, trade misinvoicing for Ghana. If you want, I can just tell you a little bit about trade misinvoicing, how it works first. I think it's important to kind of delve into it because trade misinvoicing essentially involves deliberately falsifying the value or volume of an international commercial transaction of goods by the importer, the exporter, or both. And this is very significant because it can allow criminals, corrupt government officials, commercial tax evaders to shift vast amounts of money across international borders very quickly, very easily, and almost always undetected. It's also a way of engaging in trade-based money laundering, and it's much harder to detect than financial crime in the financial services industry because it permeates the legality of international transactions much easier. So in the case of Ghana, trade misinvoicing for both imports and exports accounted to about 3.2 billion in 2015. If we narrow it down in outflows and inflows, this was 800 million in inflows and 2.4 billion in outflows. So, for example, if you take the outflows, the 2.4 billion figure, this means that imports were either over-invoiced and exports were under-invoiced in order to shift money abroad. That's of the 2.4 billion. And the repercussions for the Ghanaian economy are quite significant, actually, because when import over-invoicing occurs, so, for example, when a company pays more than would normally be expected for a product, corporate revenues are lower and therefore less income tax is paid. Also, if there's export under-invoicing going on, which is happening in Ghana as well at a significant scale, the exporting company collects less revenue than would be anticipated and therefore reports lower income. So again, it's less revenue collected by the Ghanaian government.
Right.
And if we take the other side of the spectrum, if you look at the inflows, which amounted to 800 million in 2015, this means that imports were either under-invoiced in order to evade customs duty and VAT, or exports were over-invoiced to reclaim VAT taxes, which is quite rare but also happens. But the common thread is that in both cases, the Ghanaian government is collecting less customs and VAT taxes than it should.
Like was observed, for instance, that 70% of our 400 million shortfall with our 2018 revenue target is as a result of illicit financial flows, mainly misinvoicing, as you say. So it's quite a big deal here in Ghana because here in Ghana, revenue collection is something that we've been discussing for budget after budget. But you've looked at this from a holistic point of view. What are the key lessons that we can learn in terms of recommendations for plugging these gaps?
Yeah. So I think, you hit it on the nail there. I think recommendations can be made both at kind of national and international level. I mean, if you look at the Ghana results, as I said, you've got to take them with a pinch of salt because there might be some inaccuracies, but the problem is definitely there. One way to address the most serious problem, which is that 1.6 billion of under-invoiced exports, would be, for example, for the central bank to implement, databases that can help them identify when exports have been under-invoiced. So at GFI, we have kind of developed a risk-based software that can help customs officials, central banks, financial intelligence units detect in real time where the trade misinvoicing is going on. But I think if we take a more holistic point of view, I think curbing, trade misinvoicing has to become a major focus for policymakers around the world. It's simply not a topic of discussion that's hotly debated still. You look at the discussion on dirty money, and it's still very much focused on the financial services industry.
Yeah.
And kind of the big gap that we still have is what happens on an international trade, especially for developing countries, because most of the time dirty money bypasses the financial system altogether. So, a key recommendation that I would make, for example, that we've always advocated for, is that the deliberate trade misinvoicing, for the purpose of evading VAT taxes or customs duties or any other taxes, should be made explicitly illegal. If it's not, it should be made explicitly illegal. But also, there's a key issue of enforcement. So, we've worked in customs agencies before, and we still do, and there's a huge lack of resources and enforcement going on there. So they need to be equipped with the right tools to to tackle these issues. Also, I'd say that transactions involving a tax haven should be treated with a lot more scrutiny. In the case of Ghana, most of the illicit financial flows that were moved abroad were often moved to offshore jurisdictions where there's little or no disclosure requirements about who owns that wealth or that company. So it's very easy to open a shell company, for example, without knowing who is the ultimate beneficial owner of that. I'd also say that, I think plugging the holes at enforcement is critical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, Daniel. Thanks a lot for joining us. Now, you know how a large discussion came, for instance, about the possible repeal of the Dodd-Frank Act, where we had an act which required U.S. companies abroad to disclose payments made through taxes, royalties, contract fees, and all other payments. Now, something like this is a way that countries where these companies come from can legislate and keep a closer eye on how their companies behave overseas. Do we see enough of that responsibility from the developed world? Because here, the monies are flowing into the developed world illegally by companies which come from there.
Yeah, exactly. And as you say, illicit flows don't work without a supply and a demand. So, there's culprits of both sides. And I think here in the developed world, there's a lot of lip service. So there's a lot of strong laws. For example, in the UK, there's very strong laws, but very poor enforcement. You look at Companies House, you can check out who owns most, you can check out the beneficial owners of most companies, but there's a big issue in terms of how we scrutinize this information. Nobody's actually checking this information for its veracity. So I think that's a big issue. There's also some very big loopholes in the system which can help you still open up offshore companies through third parties, which won't necessarily disclose the identity of that owner. So yeah, definitely, there's big enforcement gaps here in the developed world as well.
Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks.
Right, Daniel is with Global Financial Integrity, GFI's London office. Daniel Neal was giving us more insight into the GFI's report on illicit financial flows, which is really the anchor for our show this morning. We are discussing the findings that the GFI made, and he's explained to us how they made the findings, explained to us what exactly we mean when we say that money has flowed out and how that money flowed out. Yawinsia is here with us in studio. He's CEO of Procure Consult. He'll shed more light on some of the issues that Daniel has touched on, and we'll talk a bit more about solutions and recommendations for plugging the gaps. It's Corruption Watch on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. I'll take my last spot of messages, and then when I come back, I'll speak with you. Stay with us.
It's the year of the car owner with Enterprise Insurance. Just dial *714*556#. Choose update your details, follow the prompts, and voila! You are in for surprises that will make your head swell big. Surprises like mobile data, useful car insurance tips, and many more. Remember, updating your details even helps to speed up the claims process. Car owner, this is your year. Insure with Enterprise. Dial *714*556# and update your details now.
Enterprise, your advantage.
If you buy gold, you will save money. Because gold lasts longer. If you paint your house gold, it will shine brighter. Because gold withstands all the elements. And gold protects you from microbial growth. And it's washable. And contrary to common belief, gold comes in every color your heart desires. So, invest in gold premium acrylic paints the next time you want to paint your house. Highly washable, long-lasting, with a wide range of products from acrylic paints to enamels, primers, stuccos, and more, all engineered to the highest international standards. Protect your home. Invest in gold.
Now, this very moment, it's the pulse of possibility, potential, power. It's time
to make your move.
To take that step.
The time
is now.
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 The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now. So take that step with Old Mutual. Call us on 0302 230 638 and make now count. Old Mutual. Do great things every day.
Baby, you know that I miss you.
Hello?
Hey, my guy. Say you need everyday time. See the way make life here, they never wrong this.
Charlie, that be the power of the sound tower. Charlie, hold on. I get a call from my other phone top. Hello? Issy, you give me 10 minutes and I'm dressing up.
Liar. Dressing up and talking.
But which are you from and you've not heard of airports?
Now that's a gifted man. Gifted by NASCO in the NASCO Mega Gifts promotion. When you buy the NASCO Aleo and Aleo Plus mobile phone, you get a free sound tower, airport headset, and free 6-month subscription on Kwese iFlakes. There's more. Buy a NASCO Snap Pro, Power Plus, and Power Plus Pro, and get another phone, airport, and selfie stick free. All this and many more in the NASCO Mega Gifts promotion. Visit all Electroland showrooms and any authorized reseller while stocks last. NASCO. Bring home happiness. Terms and conditions apply.
Bring home happiness.
So everyone says I'm a Kosia filler, but it's not like I'm nosy or go out to find out the latest filler. It's just that I get 50 megabytes of data free after paying for only the first minute of every call. And so I just keep discovering stuff minute after minute. That's how come I was minding my business, scrolling through my timeline, and I found out Coco has a new baby. Oh, and last week, I learned Ken won the lottery. You see, Ken is my brother's friend. So hello! Look who's about to roll with the rich and famous.
Enjoy even more value with MTN Free After One. You only pay for the first minute of your call on MTN Free After One, and the rest is free. Plus, you enjoy free 50 megabytes worth of data to browse your favorite sites. Compare where? Compare there. So dial *315# to sign up. We day for you everywhere you go. Terms and conditions apply.
So it's 27 minutes to the top of the hour here on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. If you just joined us, you've missed quite a show so far. Still a lot more coming up though. We just spoke with Daniel Neal. He is with the Global Financial Integrity's GFI's London office. He spoke to us from the UK because, the GFI put together the Illicit Financial Flows Report, which is what we are discussing this morning on Corruption Watch. Now, the IFF report documents how monies illegally flow to and from various countries. And now with Ghana, we realize that with all the money that we trade, all the trade value that takes place in Ghana, 26.3% of that trade value is leaving Ghana illegally through various means. We'll discuss them. Now, 9.3% is coming into the country illegally. We put a few numbers to that, and recently that puts it as about $2.72 billion leaving Ghana and about 400 million coming into the country. Now, over 10 years, from 2006 to about 2015, 14.6 billion has left the shores illegally. This may seem like a lot of numbers, but 14.6 billion can pay for free SHS for 10 years. So think about it. The value of free SHS for 10 years is being given away illegally through purely corrupt means. And that's where we are now as a country. So Daniel Neal has shed some more light on that. Yawin Sia is here to give us some more insights, particularly from the local perspective, where it is happening, how it is happening, how practically he has seen it, because he's a procurement expert himself. But before I speak to you, Glitz Africa presents the 4th annual Ghana Women of the Year honors, a night to celebrate Ghanaian women excelling in different fields of endeavor and making Africa proud. Areas for this year's awards include Entrepreneur of the Year, Corporate Personality of the Year, Inspirational Icon Award, Media Personality, Health Advocacy, Young Star, Star Power Africa, Fashion Force, Lifetime Achievement, Governance, Music Personality, Film Theatre Actress, Woman of Courage, Expatriate of the Year, Woman of the Year, and Woman of the Year Diaspora. So who is your Woman of the Year? Send your names of nominees per category and submission essays to Woman of the Year at glitzafrica.com, and together let's appreciate these superwomen for their tremendous efforts. The email address again is womanoftheyear@glitzafrica.com. The media partner is the Multimedia Group, Ghana Women of the Year Awards, Women Inspiring Women. Joy FM programs and show podcasts on myjoyonline.com/live radio. Joy 99.7 FM radio for the discerning listener. Now, Adum TV is number 1 again. Here I say, Ghana has spoken for 2 years in a row, 2017 and 2018. Adum TV has been the most watched and preferred TV station in Ghana and couldn't have been possible without you. Thank you for the passion and love you continue to show for our authentic Ghanaian language programming. Keep watching and enjoying. Thank you again, Ghana, for making us number 1. 2019 is going to be more exciting, so keep watching Adum TV for more innovative and educative programs. Adum TV, Yawadza Oje. I come straight to my guest now, Yao Insia. Good morning, Insia. Thanks a lot for joining us again.
Done.
Hope all is well.
Yes.
Awesome.
Cool, yes.
Awesome. So, in the first place, what are your thoughts on this report that we've seen? Reporting the illicit financial flows. What are your general thoughts on it?
Okay, thank you, Dan, for having me. Okay, the illicit financial flows. I think this report has been coming almost every year.
Yeah.
See, and I will dwell on the trade misinvoicing, which is a subclass of illicit financial.
But 80% of the illicit financial flows are through trade misinvoicing. So that's the main thing.
Yes. Yes, because depending on how people want to keep their money, so maybe they are cut in the transaction. Okay, so the definition, like Dan said, is the willful falsification of the volume or value of an international transaction of goods by at least one party to the transaction. You see, and we have, let's say, we have import over invoicing. We have import under invoicing. We have export over invoicing, export under invoicing. Then we have mispricing. That's transfer pricing. Yes. Okay. So for the import over invoicing, it's mostly done at the public sector procurement. The government wants to buy some items from outside. And because people want to get their cuts, then they inflate the value of
the items.
The items.
Like how we've reported on corruption watch a number of times.
You see, they inflate it. And for the under invoicing, it's mostly done at the ports by our clearing agents just to evade duties. These taxes.
So they state a lower price so that they don't have to pay so
more.
much.
Yes. And for the export and the invoicing, let me give you an example. I think last year or so, our vice president traveled to Dubai. And Dubai, one of the countries, and yes, okay, and it was told that, Mr. President, last year we imported about 7 billion worth of gold from your country.
Yeah, that was the president. Exactly. He went to Dubai.
When he came down and checked, it was only 2 billion in our records. So now where is the difference? It's not the difference per se, the 5 billion, but the tax they are supposed to pay on the 5 billion has gone into people's pocket. That's for the export and the invoice. So let's say the 5 billion, if you are supposed to pay 1% of the value of the gold, that means about $50 million. Yeah, and this has been perpetrated. It's been perpetrated by our customs officials. These are regulators.
Yeah.
All going into people's pocket.
Yeah.
Then we have export over invoicing. That one mostly they don't do it here because the government doesn't give incentives like export drawbacks to exporters.
Okay.
So like China, like this, they encourage people to export more. So the more you export, the more they give you some incentives, some tax waivers, then you're okay.
So if you're Chinese, you could probably overstate the prices of things you're exporting so that you can get more incentives.
Yes, so in China, I'll come to that.
Okay.
Yes, because about this, our customs, this. Then we have another, this in the transfer pricing. That's where, these expatriate companies, when they are coming in with their,
their sister companies.
Yeah, exactly. Then they bring goods, they will inflate the prices. And they buy the goods from their close relations, so that if the good is the item is 50,000, they make it about 100,000 because they are not paying duties here. Then then the more your capital expenditure, the more
the smaller your profit.
The tax.
Yes.
You don't pay tax. So if you remember, just last 2 weeks or last week, I heard the GRA commissioner, the commissioner general, he said for less than about 6 months that they set up a transfer price unit at the customs department. They have collected about 400 million Ghana cedis. People invaded through transfer pricing.
We just came across an audit report. We aired it here on the show.
Yes.
On Monday or Tuesday, during the news, where Kwete Nate led that investigation. The Ghana Bauxite Company was involved in transfer pricing. That was up to about $9 million. $9 million.
And this even just from the extractive industry.
Yeah.
Just imagine this PPP and those things. Then people will be bringing their machines. Then they will try to evade tax. You see, so in Ghana here, our problem is our customs. Our ports.
Yeah.
Yes, our ports. And I know the government is trying to do something to curb those things because myself, I petitioned the president specifically on this thing, especially when they tried to implement this. They brought this CTN issue.
So how is the CTN issue addressing this? Is it effective enough?
No, it's even making things worse because I don't think the one who brought out this proposed this CTN this thing is a risk management person. Yes, we are leaking badly, my brother.
So explain to us,
everybody.
Yeah, in a minute, help us understand the lapses with the CTN system.
The CTN, it said that you, the shipper, will upload that document. You see the business document like the BL and those things that before you export from the country of shipment, you take your goods to customs for validation. They weigh everything. Then you take your documents to the shipping lines. You understand me? So from the customs, you do the declaration about the weight, the price, everything. You give that information to the customs. So from there, you take your documents, you give copies to the shipping line. That is where they input it as bill of lading. Because, mind you, the invoice is a contract between the buyer and the seller. And the bill of lading is a contract between the shipper and the importer.
Yeah.
The shipper and the shipping line.
Okay.
You understand me?
Okay.
Yeah, so they input some part of the listing on their BL. You see? So from there, you come back and you scan, you upload it on the CTN platform. Then CTN will in turn send it to our customs.
So everything is tracked from the beginning to the end?
Yeah, from that side.
Yeah, so what are the lapses in there?
Yeah, so here, how do you validate that that information on the CTN platform is genuine or authentic? Because the person can scan, edit, reduce the price or inflate it, change the invoice face, some mathematics on the declaration, then give copies, one to the importer, then give another one to the shipping line. You see? So how, when the CTN transfers the document, the data to our customs here, how do you validate from
Interesting.
the other customs?
So there's no way.
There's a way. You see, but long time the government has been trying to implement this thing, but people, that's where people get their money. There's something called, that's why they introduced this single window.
Okay.
We have finished with the national single window. We have the international one, ISW, which means your single window here, the local one, the national one, should be supported by WCO data model.
Okay.
And there's a software. They have software, an official software for customs. It's called Gfi FX.
Yeah.
You see, we have everything. We have the setup, everything. So now you harmonize your data elements, then so that they will conform to the international, the WCO data model, which means, in every country, trade, our customs is the face of every country.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, there's a single window from the country of shipment, a single window here too. Because when you get your BL and your distance, you have to pass through the single window, then gets to the customs. Then here, now customs have to interface. So before, initially, those times, after shipping the goods, the customs there will give, like, you want to send some goods to Kumasi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put it in a vehicle, then you add waybill and those things to the driver, then they will send it. So in this case, the customs there, our customs have to interface with the customs over there.
So it's about communication through the single window to get a clear picture of what goods are there and whether they match the
documents. You get the manifest,
yes,
customs to customs.
Of course.
Yes. Before even the shipping line will come with also, then that's where you can. So the point of validation is customs to customs.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting points there, Mr. Yawensia makes. Unfortunately, we'll have to continue this specific conversation on transfer pricing and misinvoicing on another day because we've run out of time, unfortunately. But Mr. Yawensia, thank you so much for making the time to join us here. It's been very, very insightful hearing you speak. And he's the CEO of Procure Consult. He brings us to the end of Corruption Watch for today's Super Morning Show. My name is Daniel Daze. Thanks for staying with us. So you too, in your own small way, can help in the fight against corruption. Just reach us on the Corruption Watch hotline 055-453-6586 or on WhatsApp 055-453-6295. Visit our website stopcorruptionghana.org. The partners for Corruption Watch are Ghana Center for Democratic Development (CDD) Ghana, Ghana Integrity Initiative (GII), Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition (GACC), Joy 99.7 FM, and Africa Center for International Law and Accountability. ASILA, the sponsor for Corruption Watch, is strengthening action against corruption stack. We'll take a few messages. When we come back, we speak to our friends from